So it's a new season, and that means a meta shakeup. With 2 new introductions to the Vanguard Armory, how's that adjust the power rankings, and are they any good in the sense that you should definitely be using these things? Today, we're going to be running down the top 10 best guns of Season 2, and what you should be using to do as best as possible as you can within Vanguard. As we go along, feel free to drop your thoughts down below. If you'd like to add anything to this list, subtract anything, whatever the case, feel free to drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Vanguard, Warzone, and anything COD related. Finally, my friends over at G Fuel bumped up code Espresso to 30% off to celebrate the launch of Season 2, so while we're grinding away double XP this weekend in-game, you can restock or try something out for the very first time to fill you up before you even jump on. So if you're interested, check the link in the description below. That said, let's jump into it. So let's start out with the new weapons here, because we talked a bit about them within Warzone. We went over our top 10 loadouts there. Check that video out if you guys haven't seen it already. But short story, the WHITLEY and the KGM really don't make too much splash in the Warzone meta, but in regards to Vanguard, it's an entirely different story. Take out armor, further distance engagements, and a whole host of 140 plus other weapons that compete against this to try and be relevant weapons, and these become significantly better to use. In fact, I'd wager to say that the WHITLEY is perhaps the best gun in the game right now, fighting for that #1 spot with a few guns, but let's start there. The WHITLEY, available at tier 31, is the new LMG of Season 2, and that honestly packs a wild punch. The base gun really isn't terrible by any means. The iron sights are a bit weird, but other than that, it's pretty solid. You get some pretty decent items by like level 38 or so, but it gets even better as time goes on, as all weapons do, but it can pack a serious punch even early on. For this though, I'd recommend the build of the G28 compensator for that recoil control, either the 28-inch or the 20-inch barrel. Personally, for me, I've been liking the 28-inch, where even though it has a few more downsides, I also gain a little bit of flinch resistance, which is definitely big. The slate reflector for some pinpoint precision, the padded stock, the 1941 hand stop, the BMG 150 round box mags, lengthened, polymer grip, hard scoped, and fully loaded. Kit this thing out as such and you'll have a weapon that does not move when shooting recoil wise and can kill in at 2 shots, which is insane to consider, and also then is something that jousts with that #1 spot as what I'd still probably consider the best weapon in the game even since launch, the BAR, the next weapon up on deck here at this. This thing still stands up even after a couple of months of play, but just like the WHITLEY, it's another 2-shot kill weapon, but it's more mobile. So if we're taking DLC weapons out of the equation, this is by far my #1 choice in regards to probably best weapon right now within Vanguard. Even earlier today, I dropped a 1 minute and 45 second V2 or something like that with this build, just trying to get some footage ready for this video. It's still stupid good. For this, I'd recommend the cord muzzle brake for added accuracy, the 27-inch barrel. Again, we go back and forth between that 30 and 27. It really comes down to personal preference, but I find more benefit in the 27-inch, the slate reflector, the Chariot WR stock, the hand stop, the BMG 30 round magazine, lengthened, polymer grip, hard scope, and fully loaded. This giving you a weapon that does not move when you shoot. The recenter speed is incredible, so you're almost always going to be back on target, and it just absolutely packs a punch given that it's a 2-shot weapon. So try that one out, 100% you'll have some success with it. Outside of that, #3 here, one of my favorite weapons has been the well gun. Personally, this one is that mobile SMG. I take this over the MP40 all the time now, and it's one that honestly I think is such a fun weapon to use. You have a decent fire rate, a decent ammo pool, and decent mobility, all stacked on top of the fact that this thing can still kill in a relatively fast TTK. For this, I personally use the recoil booster. Increasing that fire rate helps out in that TTK department. The shrouded barrel, which increases that one-hit kill area. The slate reflector, removed stock for added mobility. The pistol grip, the 9mm 64 round magazine. A lot of people will use the Gorenko 48 round mag, which is just fine, but I'm personally somebody that likes to have more ammo than less. Kind of a hoarder in that sense, honestly, but frangible then for a little bit added delay in terms of enemy healing. The polymer grip for a little added control. Fleet, and fully loaded. Though again, that plays into my hoarder tendencies in terms of ammo. I'd recommend quick for that added mobility if it's not entirely your cup of tea or you don't need a ton of ammo. Next weapon on deck is that of the MP40, which since launch has been basically the go-to SMG. I've just personally liked the well gun a little bit more. Maybe you have as well, but the MP40, just like some of the weapons we'll talk about here, the STG, the Cooper, which are upcoming, basically weapons you can pick up and play and do well with. The MP40 though being that one you may be familiar with, so we can breeze past that a little bit bit for this. We end up running the F8 stabilizer, the 317mm barrel, the slate reflector, the folding stock, the SMLE pistol grip, the 8mm 32 round Kurz mags, lengthened. Personally, I'll run the leather grip here to as well give an additional ADS boost as opposed to some control. That's totally fine here in my books. And then I'll close it out with steady and fully loaded. Definitely some great choices here if you ask me. But talking about those weapons that are pick up and play, the Cooper carbine is the next one we'll talk about in regards to weapons you can pick up, and if you're a veteran, you do well with. If you're a newer player, you can still do well with. For this, we run the cord muzzle brake, Cooper custom barrel, slate reflector, padded stock, 1941 hand stop, the 45 round magazine for that added damage, lengthened, polymer grip, vital, and fully loaded. We've talked about this build as well here on the channel before, so can breeze past that, as can we with the STG. Now, again, this being probably one of the first original go-tos for the meta that's persisted the entire way through the year so far. For this, I'd prefer the F8 stabilizer, 760mm barrel, slate reflector, folding stock, 30 Russian short, 30 magazine, the lengthened ammo type, polymer grip, vital, and fully loaded. Now, that might be one that isn't too far out of the ordinary, but it is still one that packs an absolute punch just because it is something that you can pick up and play with. It's so easily mobile, it does have easy control, and the damage properties absolutely can excel. Now, the automaton is another weapon that is an absolute favorite of mine. This one just being the fire rate, the control, it's so easy to control, almost zero recoil if you kit it out properly, and it's a competitive weapon for a reason. Now, we kit it out slightly differently than that of, say, a competitive playstyle, but it's still something that can absolutely do very well for you. This, I'd recommend the F8 stabilizer, the sniper barrel, slate reflector, the padded stock, the 1941 hand stop. The Sakura 75 round magazine is what I end up running. You can of course run the 45 round magazine or any of the other options really, but for me, I like to have that additional ammo, and because you end up having such a high fire rate, you burn through it relatively quickly. So you have a lot on person to be able to use as much as you want, but you can also still get the job done still. For this, I also run lengthened, the polymer grip, tight grip, so we can end up minimizing that recoil even more, and then fully loaded to round everything out. Now, the KGM-40 is the next weapon up on deck here. Of course, a newer weapon, but I think this is kind of where it belongs. It's kind of middle of the pack by comparison to other rifles. I mean, the bar's a two-shot weapon, the STG and the Cooper are pick up and play, the automaton, again, very easy to control, pretty mobile for a rifle, but it doesn't completely blow anything out of the water. So the KGM-40 is a great option, but it might not be your best in class, as opposed to, say, the Whitley or the Bren right now at this point for LMGs. So for this, I'd run the F8 stabilizer, 700mm barrel, slate reflector, padded stock, 1941 hand stop, the 30-06 50 round magazine, lengthened, polymer grip, vital, and fully loaded. Now, to round out the top 10, we're going to talk about two weapons here, one being the Bren that we've talked about, but again, with so many other options that are faster options in handling or ADS or damage properties, the two-shot appeal of the Bren and the fast TTK is kind of worn off in that appeal, for me at least. Could be totally different for you, but if I can achieve the same two-shot kill potential with a bar or the Whitley, I don't want something that's going to take even longer to ADS in terms of the Bren, but it still is something that if kitted properly, it can do very well for you. I'd recommend the G28 compensator, the Queen's 705mm Royal barrel, the slate reflector, the Model 11 BH stock, the Carver foregrip, the BMG 50 round magazine, lengthened, fabric grip for a little bit of ADS to make up where we're losing elsewhere, tight grip, and fully loaded. And finally, the last weapon that I'd say is in the top 10 here is that of the NZ41. This is kind of a hit or miss one for me. Number 10, 11, and 12 were really all kind of up in the air. There's a bunch of SMGs you could throw in here at the bottom of the list as well, though realistically when you get to these sort of things, it comes down to situational use. So it may not be the number 10 for everybody, but it is something that for me, I like that longer range play. The NZ is easy to control and can absolutely do some damage. For this, the F8 stabilizer, Orb Weaver 360mm BC barrel, slate reflector, Orb Weaver EPAC, Carver foregrip, no magazine again here at this because you either lose out on ammo with the fast mag or you lose out on damage by adjusting the fire rate with the Klauser or Sakura rounds. Lengthened, polymer grip, frenzy, and fully loaded, and that would be my class of choice for the NZ. But that said, that to me is the top 10 weapons here to be using within Vanguard of Season 2 so far. We, of course, will get a little bit more in terms of weaponry as the mid-season update comes along, but for right now, that's what I'd recommend. So that's what we're going to call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree with this list, disagree, add anything to the list, subtract from it? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Vanguard, Warzone, anything COD related. We got you covered here on the channel. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you in the community. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Go ahead and go dominate in Vanguard, and I'll see you later. Take care and peace.